Hey,
Hey.
welcome to the Gotta Pop podcast.
Well, thanks.
My name is Buddy Gott. This is my wonderful and beautiful wife, Lisa
That's
Gott,
me.
Lisa M. Gott.
Yes.
This is the first show for Gotta Pop that I'm recording via Substack. And Lisa has agreed to be my guest for this first show. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about TV shows that we've been binge watching over the past several months. So there's been quite a few of them. So we're just going to cover a few right now. But it's so easy to get addicted to shows, and we have like every cable and streaming service known to man.
We're a little bit more picky now.
Well, that's
we
true.
don't have everything. We have
No, we don't have
almost everything.
Almost everything. We have enough to keep us very occupied
Well,
and
and I want
entertained.
to preface this that we actually are productive people.
We are very
And we don't spend our entire lives on the couch because
No.
people are probably going to be like, wow, you did all of that. I mean, I remember, was it last year, the year before, we watched 20 seasons of Grey's Anatomy in 9 months.
In 9 months. And most of those seasons have 20 plus episodes, like 20 to 24 episodes, something like that.
And I work a full-time job and am in grad school. So, and I do go to the gym, contrary to what the waistband of my pants might tell you, but
she's ridiculous. She's ridiculous.
But
yeah, we're avid readers, and she's also going to be on my Gotta Read show sometimes, and which will also be here. We're going to try to record them on Substack, and then to be distributed elsewhere. But yeah, we love watching TV and movies too, mostly TV series, and we found some older ones and some newer ones that we've liked a lot, and we thought we'd share them with you. And Lisa, which one do you want to start with here?
I think we should start with Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
Because I think that I have to say, and I hope it's like one of those situations, even with books, where I continue to find things that outdo themselves.
Yes.
But as of right now, this has become my favorite show of all time.
Wow, that's saying a lot.
And I think what's so great about it is just how surprising it was. I mean, you hear a show called Schitt's Creek, and of course I loved, Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that Daniel Levy, I knew Daniel Levy's character, but I didn't realize his real name was Daniel Levy and that it was Eugene's son.
Yeah.
I just love all the characters really in there, and I just thought it was going to be a silly show.
Yeah, same here. And like you, I mean, I've been familiar with Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara for most of my life. I mean, I was a fan of them. This isn't going to be a shocker to anyone, but I'm a bit older than Lisa. And I watched them on their old TV show, SCTV, Second City TV, back in the late 70s, early 80s, even before Lisa was born and when she was real little. And I've loved them for that long. And even before we got into the show, which was maybe towards the end of 2023, I guess, we'd of course been aware of it. I mean, how could you not be aware of it? It shows up in like GIFs and memes, especially with Daniel Levy. Yeah. And we tried it probably close to 2 years ago, right?
Yeah,
2 or 3 years ago.
I think it was just one of those cases where I think we'd watched maybe 3, maybe 4 episodes.
Yeah.
And we thoroughly enjoyed it. But I think it was at a time where maybe there were some other things going on. I can't remember what it was. Yeah. And something pulled us away, and, out of sight, out of mind, you kind of just lose track.
Yeah, I remember us saying, we'll have to get back to that. But then, like you said, out of sight, out of mind. And
no, I thought it was going to be just a great show to check out and kind of be entered.
Yeah.
And it certainly is that.
Oh, it is.
But it's so much more than that.
Yeah.
The character development, kind of the storylines and plot. I mean, if you would have told me that there would have been numerous episodes where I was getting teary-eyed from a show named Schitt's Creek, I would have been like, okay,
yes.
Yeah,
exactly. And yeah, I thought that at the beginning too, where while I liked the first few episodes we had seen years ago, some of it, I was wondering if the show was going to be too much like maybe silly or, potty humor. Because especially in the first couple episodes, you saw a lot of Chris Elliott's character, Roland Schitt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy, he's funny, but he might be a little too much. But once we got into the show, into the flow of the show, we understood why all these people have been raving to us about it for years, and we just instantly loved it. And like you said, even like teared up and cried in a lot of
Yeah.
episodes.
I'm still trying to nail Moira's accent. That has
Oh
got to be
God.
the most amazing, unique accent that she's kind of pulled off. That character pulled off. I just
She's
love her
so good.
so
Oh,
much.
she is such a great character.
Uh,
Yeah, I would. I was about to try to talk like her, but I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like such. It's like you have to exaggerate
Yeah. It's at
all
least.
the wrong syllables,
Yeah.
which is really hard. And I don't need any help with not being able to pronounce things
Well, like she would
correctly.
draw out even
Yeah.
short words. I would like to be like Lisa.
Lisa, yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Gotta Pop podcast. And yeah, she's great. And Eugene Levy as her husband is hilarious. I've loved, like I said, I've loved both of them forever. And one person that was brand new to me while watching this series was the actress who plays their daughter, Annie Murphy, who played Alexis Rose. And
which we have to be really careful saying her
Oh.
name because it sounds like Alexa,
yeah,
which we refer to as A.
Yeah.
Because if we say something that sounds like that, she gets activated and then she listens to the whole conversation and thinks she's supposed to join in, and
Yeah, and we had that happen sometimes when we were watching
During the
episodes
show.
of the series where because our Alexa device is just a few feet away from the TV, and some character would call out to her and say something and like, Alexis, why don't you come over here? And it would take it as Alexa.
Yeah,
She'd be like,
I'm
I am
sorry, but I don't.
Oh,
she just did it right now.
Did it there.
She
So-
said, "I'm sorry, I can't help you with that."
So yeah, we have to be careful. We do that with Siri too. We just
go
say S when we're talking about
S&A.
them. S and A.
It gets a little confusing
It
when we talk to
does,
other
it
people.
does.
But Annie Murphy, that played Alexis, was probably, I mean, I have to say, if I had to pick my favorite character, it would be David, which was Daniel Levy. I just love him, and I feel like he embodied so much of my own spirit, like sarcasm and the oh my god, drama. What am I, like an 80-year-old? But drama and all that. But I have to say, I agree. A lot of, I think even some of our friends on Facebook had mentioned in the on the internet at large that really the breakaway like star of the show, as far as like where she came from and where she ended up, had to be Annie Murphy's character Alexis.
Yeah, she went through. I mean, they all went through major changes because you had this family that was very, very financially well. They were very well to do and wealthy, and circumstances happened where they lost their money and ended up in this little shitty town. And but yeah, so they all went through these massive changes, making those adjustments. But her character in particular went through not only the stuff from the financial aspect and being a fish out of water in this small town, but you know, romantically
and her own, like she found her own way. I mean, she was the typical, you know, pretty girl.
Yeah.
That you know, obviously money helped her get the clothes that she could dress up, and I think she was supposed to be, you know, what society might think of as a throwaway pretty girl.
Yeah.
She doesn't really have any substance to her, and you know, if you're not careful and you watch very specific clips of her, you might think that that's just the way she is, because she'll say absolutely ridiculous, you know, things that you think, my God, how does she not understand that? Or but where she went from, you know, kind of relying on attention and kind of needing a man in her life to kind of give validation to some of that. By the end of the series, you see this bright, smart, independent woman really kind of taking charge of her life and even breaking away from her parents. You know, I think that could be said for both Daniel Levy characters, David and Alexis. They both broke away from that. You know, our parents are rich and pay for everything. So yes, we kind of leaned into that.
Yeah. And I think both of them, like you said, she was you know, she was the rich girl, and she even like would name drop sometimes about how she would hang out with the Kardashians and other like famous people that are along those lines. You know, the people that are rich, but maybe at least from maybe some people's opinions might not have much substance to them. And she was just great. She grew so much, and
Yeah.
that actress was so funny and so
Yeah.
great in that
And
role.
I absolutely, it's funny in books, not just romance, but I think to a certain extent, most readers and viewers want a happy ending. They want,
Hmm.
and I think it can be hard with characters like her where, she dated multiple people. She had
Yeah.
two kind of, serious relationships in there. And you might find yourself kind of hoping for, I know I myself am guilty of it, one of them even up until close to the end, kind of hoping one of
Oh
those
yeah.
things came through.
Right.
Um but it was such a great powerful reminder that, specifically when it comes to women, because you see this more with female characters, that a happy ending doesn't mean they have to end up with someone.
No.
A happy ending can mean that they find independence and a path forward on their own.
Yeah, that's
For
very true.
myself, I had a horrible divorce and marriage in my 20s, and for me it wasn't just immediately going and finding a replacement for a void in my life. It was kind of dating myself for a little while,
Yeah, you
and
have to
and
figure out,
finding that
who you
it's
are,
just
and
such a healthy, I don't feel like we have especially on a female perspective, I don't feel like we have enough examples of that kind of strength and independence that young women and girls should be looking at.
yeah.
And it's so ridiculous, even as I'm saying it, that I'm thinking that, wow, Schitt's Creek provided that to us.
Yes, it's true.
That's really not what I would have thought.
No, me either. And what's wonderful is, we talked about these two characters who were younger.
Mhm.
I guess they're probably both supposed to be in their 30s, somewhere like
Yeah.
that. But
Maybe intellectually for them a little bit younger than that.
yes,
They were a little
yeah,
stilted with their emotional growth because of their situations, I think,
exactly.
before that.
Yeah, exactly. But they weren't the only ones that grew.
Mhm.
You found their parents too, who
Oh,
I
yeah.
would guess in their probably like 60s
Yeah.
or early 70s. They had to start over. They were starting
Mhm.
over in these new lives. Like Johnny, that's the character played by Eugene Levy. He headed up. He had a company very much like Blockbuster
Yes.
Video. I think it was Rose
Yeah,
Video,
Rose
and
Video.
he lost all of his money, so he had to start over. And not really sure what he wanted to do moving forward. And I'm not going to say what he eventually gets into, but he grows, not only from a business sense, but just in who he is. And you see the same thing with
Moira.
Moira. She had been a soap opera actress,
Mhm.
and here she is in this little town, and she goes through a lot of changes too. And
And what I think is really neat in particular about them, and the whole family dynamic kind of evolved and grew throughout the show, which was not only did all the characters grow individually, they kind of grew away from each other the way that, in a healthy way, that
mhm.
they needed to kind of chart their own individual paths in life. Because even the happiest couples have to have their own
Yes,
individual kind of
absolutely.
like journey and goals. It can't be just everything together. So they each grew into kind of defining and understanding kind of what those individual paths were, but they also kind of for the first time grew into each other.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw some very touching scenes, as the series continued to go on, as Moira and Johnny kind of regrew into, in a very different way, being a parent.
Yeah.
And by doing that, their children kind of got to experience things that they maybe weren't able to experience because
Yeah.
that whole family dynamic had been kind of, you know, uh, a little, inhibited like
Yeah,
previously just
exactly.
because of the way that their lives were. So they all like had individual, emotional and social kind of growths with their connections with each other and
Yeah.
and others and with themselves.
Yeah, and while they grew individually and like found themselves individually, you still saw that wonderful bond that was
Yeah.
there in between
Hmm.
them. And, like, I'm thinking of one thing now that's kind of making
Yeah.
me like tear up a little bit towards the beginning of the series, and just such a great show. I never thought I would tear up over a show called Schitt's Creek, and not saying
Tears
that
up
that
over
happened every
everything,
episode.
really. Yeah.
We
So
we do. We're weepas,
yeah,
as they
and the
say
and
in the
it the
holiday.
quote of my favorite movie ever, The Holiday.
Yeah.
I'm a weeper. I weep at commercials. Weep at whatever. I can't remember.
I did just want to call out before we move on to the next series that we binged, just a couple of characters and actors and actresses I really, really liked a lot.
Noah Reed.
Noah Reed is fantastic as Patrick. Yeah, he was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I really like Emily Hampshire as Stevie.
Mm-hmm.
Stevie's a fantastic character.
And another family member, Sarah Levy.
Oh, yeah, Sarah Levy, Eugene Levy's daughter. She played Twyla.
Yes.
Yeah, Twyla's a great character.
Yeah, she had a lot of shock. Boy, the more that you learned about her, I mean, there were actually some jaw-dropping kind of moments for me, later on in the series. But I have to, I'm going to interrupt you because I'm very good at doing that. Noah Reed, who played Patrick, is eventually in a romantic relationship with Daniel Levy, his character, David. And oh God, if there was ever a couple that I have rooted for more in my life, it was those two. I mean, just such and that was another example of kind of, the diversity that show gave, just like I was talking about, kind of the independence that they really helped Alexis have in her storyline. There was also the LGBTQ storyline with Daniel Levy, kind of that, and then also double-edged, also Noah Reed. We got to see him kind of come into his own character, his own line and truth, and kind of discovering who he is and who he loves in life. And it was really just very powerful.
Oh, very powerful.
And oh my God, like the scene, some of the romantic scenes between the two of them.
Very, very touching.
I dare you, even like I've become a weeper because of this guy over here. But I mean, I dare even the most, I don't know, straight-faced person who says they don't cry to watch some of those scenes and not just be so touched by them.
Yeah, it's not so much that they're sad. I don't think we ever cried because we were sad. It was just, it was so touching.
Maybe when it was over.
Yeah, exactly. And, I'm not going to, there's something I want to bring up, but I'm not going to, because it's a great scene. I'll let people experience it on their own. But it involves Tina Turner, that one of her songs. That's all I'll say.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was just so classic. That last one I want to shout out is someone we saw, in a movie, a Christmas movie we talked about in our Christmas episode we did a few months back.
Dusty Milligan?
Dustin Milligan, who played Ted.
I know what I call Dusty.
Even they're old friends. He's Dusty, yeah. But he was really, really great. His character was excellent. He was a veterinarian in the town who at different times has an on-again, off-again relationship with Alexis.
Couldn't be a different character than he played in Hot Frosty.
Yeah.
But
he's so good. And so if you haven't watched Schitt's Creek yet, check it out. It's I think it's available in multiple different platforms, so definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
And which one do you want to talk about now?
Let's see. I have to. I think I'm gonna jump ahead to something because I'm too excited to read this.
Okay.
We're gonna go. So,
can I just say something real quick? For anyone watching, so we're recording this in February. If you hadn't seen any of our previous shows, I just want to say that despite the gnome cups and the we have what, like 52 of these?
I think 152.
152. Yeah, we like gnomes a lot, and but we have our tree here. It's not Christmas or the holiday season right now. This is our seasonal tree. We decorate it differently for every season of the year, and we like using gnomes and Christmas cups throughout the year.
Yeah, I'm not even a religious person.
No.
But I celebrate kind of, I don't know, the magical part of the Christmas season.
Yeah.
And there's just something nice about having twinkly lights.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't just bring you joy throughout that season. It's all year round.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We had like a surfboard on here before during the summer and things like not an actual surfboard. It was a little decoration.
A little very like beachy coastal theme.
Yes.
Tasteful thing.
Exactly. So I'm gonna not interrupt you now and you share what you wanted to share.
So we're gonna go into the next show. Don't laugh and make me laugh and not be able to do this. Come friend, come foe, come one, come all, to the highlands to see who lives and who falls. Jokers and fools, queens and kings, we'll see where the murder begins.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, if you are like, what in the, what are they talking about? Traitors.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the Traitors or whatever it is.
There's a woman that I used to work with who made me feel not like a big Survivor fan. I have watched every season of Survivor since the beginning.
Yeah.
And while I love it, I am not one of those people who like then rewatches seasons
Or
of
you don't
it.
get into like the podcasts every week. And
I can't remember. I mean, I can't even remember people's names in my office who I've worked with for 10 years,
let alone like, who was in season 13.
Yeah, my brain doesn't work that way. So she is one of those people, but she talked about, she goes, I love Survivor. I think she was a Love Island person. I am not. And we watch Big Brother. And so
I'm pretty into Big Brother.
We would talk, about reality shows. She goes, I have to say, my favorite is Traitors. And I was like, oh, I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
And I heard about it in the context of one of my favorite Survivor players, Cerie Fields, because I had known that she had been on a show called The Traitors, and ironically, she then went on to Big Brother.
Yeah, she was like a special.
Right, literally on the heels of her finishing the recording of The Traitors.
And we watched that season of Big Brother, and we loved her. I was unfamiliar with her at that point. I had not seen her on Survivor.
Yeah.
I was a fan of Survivor, like maybe the first 3 or 4 seasons it was on, then didn't get back into it until we got together, like season whatever it was, whatever 10 years ago it was. But yeah, so I got to know her through Big Brother, and then like Lisa, I was like, oh, maybe we ought to at some point try this Traitors.
Yeah.
And she was on the first season of it.
Yes.
It's got an interesting life because I think it started
in the UK.
And then a few years ago, it started here I know it's on Peacock now. It might've been on NBC at some point, but she was on the first season. The third season just started and actually is currently airing now. We started with the third season.
Now, Buddy wanted to start with the first season. And I was like, look, I don't even know if I'm going to like this show. It seemed somewhat over the top, but so I was like, let's watch the first one, because ironically there was another reality star person that we had just seen on Big Brother, Carolyn, and that's her name, right?
Oh yeah, she was Survivor.
Survivor.
Yeah, she was on Survivor.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was on Survivor. She was on there. Actually, a lot of faces of this season that we knew, including Brittany.
Yeah, Brittany Haynes.
And Bob Harper, for those of you who used to watch Biggest Loser. Yeah, he was one of the fitness people on there who, if you know anything about his storyline, he went on to have a really big heart attack, and it was quite scary there for him for a while. So I was actually excited about some of the people that were on there. And I was like, well, let's Gabby.
Yeah, we knew Gabby Windy. I know she'd been on like The Bachelorette and The Bachelor. We fell in love with her when she was on Dancing with the Stars a couple seasons ago.
Oh God, she's
just such a character as a human being.
The delivery that she has is
hilarious. She's really funny.
So we started watching that, and if you subscribed to Peacock, because it's now only available on Peacock, but they simultaneously streamed, I think, the first couple of seasons, probably to get people to jump over and subscribe to Peacock. But if you were subscribers there, they dropped immediately the first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So we devoured the first 3 episodes.
We did.
I was like, oh my God. And Alan Cummings, who's the host of it, is, oh my God, I love him.
That's who she was impersonating at the beginning of this segment.
I just love him.
Oh, he's so good.
Much.
I know him as an actor. I'd never seen him do something like this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of boy, how do we describe what they do on this show?
Well, so you have a whole bunch of people. I could count.
It's at least a couple dozen.
There's at least, let's see, 1, 2.
Almost all of them are from reality TV series, except for the first season when they had some regular people in there as well.
So this season, I think we have 19,
Oh, okay.
19 people. So you have people that come to this castle. And so Alan plays this big, Scottish, I don't know.
Almost like royal, but he's very flamboyant.
Yeah, which I know anyone who knows anything about him will be very surprised by that.
Yeah.
But so he plays it, and it's recorded at the same castle, I think, every year
season,
in Scotland. And so everybody comes, and he kind of, I think, watches people, and then they go to what's called the round table, and they have to put on a mask. And Alan then walks around them, and he tells them, if I tap you on the shoulder, you become a traitor. So there's two groups of people, the faithfuls and the traitors. And I think me not knowing anything about this show thought that it would be like an even split or something, kind of like two tribes on like Survivor or whatever.
Right.
But the amount of traitors can change, but it's a very small percentage, actually. You're talking about anywhere from like 2 to 4 at most.
I think 4 is the most we've seen.
2 to 4 traitors. And they're sworn to not tell anyone that they are traitors and to uphold the secrecy. But then they're also kind of supposed to lie, cheat, steal, and muck about the game to the faithfuls. And the faithfuls are supposed to try to unearth who are the traitors. And what's so fascinating about this game, I mean, it is so cutthroat, and it's so amazing that I'm not quite sure. I really hope all the other reality shows we watch, like Big Brother, Survivor, Amazing Race, hold up after this, because it is just, first of all, not just from the gameplay and the strategic practices of the game, but even the little things they do, the competitions and stuff like that are, I mean, honestly, like Survivor, if anyone who's in charge of production at Survivor that's listening, they should take a page out of their book.
It's been really impressive. Yeah, because shows like Survivor, I'm not knocking Survivor, but you see a lot of the same things being repeated over and over again. Puzzles and things like that. But here, I believe that each episode that at least we've seen so far of Traitors, and actually now we're all caught up, is covers one day at the castle for them. And basically, every day finishes with the traitors meeting, sort of like in this this mysterious looking room. They're all wearing like the robes with the hoods.
They're undercover.
They're undercover. No one knows who they are. In the turret.
They meet in the turret because earlier in that day, so it starts. They have I talk a lot, so I'm just
no. This is good.
So they will have their little competition. And so during the competition, they often they're trying to add, and I thought this was kind of unique because I didn't understand it at first, is they're trying to add money to the prize pot. And I didn't realize it wasn't like one of the other shows where it's an automatic given that you're going to get $250,000 at the end of it. They have to earn it.
They have to earn it
in multiple different ways. And so it requires all of them, regardless of whether or not they're a faithful or a traitor, to try to win money during these challenges to beef up the prize pot. But also in the competitions will be an opportunity to earn shields.
Which would protect them
from getting murdered. It won't protect them, by the way, if they're a traitor from being discovered as a traitor. There's no protection for the traitors. So then they, kibosh about that, and then they head to what's called that round table, where at the beginning the traitors are secretly chosen. At the round table, everybody, and boy, those are entertaining and quite tense.
Alan comes in and tells them, now you have to pick someone who is going to be banished.
Banished.
And so basically he gives them a chance to just sort of hash it out.
And the object of this is not just to banish someone you didn't like, but for the faithfuls to banish a traitor, because it behooves them to banish all of the traitors, because at the end of the show, say you do earn up to $250,000. If you get to the end and there is even one traitor left, that traitor will steal and take the entire money, and you leave with nothing. So it is like, I mean, it really, like, even if two people get down to the end, if they are not 100% sure about the other one, then one is probably going to try to do
Yeah.
something to banish the other one to ensure that they get the money because they don't want to be ousted. So it's really quite clever. So of course then the traitors want to create chaos and use things like even trying to get shields and all that to make it look like, gosh, I'm scared. And they have to be, strategic about, all of that. And of course, I don't know how I did this, but what is the most popular person on here that like Sari had me interested in the series at all, which is Boston Rob.
Yeah, Boston Rob, who's well known from Survivor.
Yeah.
And I think he's currently on that show, Deal or No Deal
He's on every show.
He's been on every reality show. Amazing Race, I think he may have been on at some point.
He's awesome. And I have to say, this coworker that I was telling you about, her and I have texted during a lot of the different shows, and we have both talked about how really when we heard he was going to be on this, we thought, boy, is it kind of time for him maybe to retire or be a host or a guest or something on these shows.
He's a brilliant player.
Without giving anything away, if you haven't watched this show, but you're a big Boston Rob or Survivor fan, really watch it, because there is a specific episode where he pulls something off that basically solidifies the reason why he is the Survivor GOAT, the legend that he is.
Exactly. And now, unlike Lisa, like I had said, I didn't watch Survivor every season. So I think I'd stopped watching around the time that he first came on. Mm-hmm. So I didn't watch when he was originally on Survivor. And I know he was on multiple seasons, came back for like all-star ones. And I saw him, years later when we saw him on like a special version of Survivor. He came in to help the contestants with something. And in my head, I liked him, but I was also a little Boston Robbed out because I always saw people raving about him. I know Boston Rob's so great. Boston Rob's so great. So even going into this, I was like, okay, it's great he's here, but is this guy going to just annoy me? But then I was blown away by what you talked about. Yeah. He did pull off something really slick, and it was pretty cool. So
to make you laugh and show you how addicting this show is. So we watched the first 3 that Peacock dropped. Mm-hmm. And we couldn't get enough of it. So I said, well, would it be silly to also, while we wait for the next episode to drop, to start watching season 1?
Which, I had suggested before we even started season 3.
So in the time that passed between catching up on the first 3 seasons, by the time the 4th episode dropped of season 3, we had already binged the entire season 1.
Yeah.
And by the time the 5th episode dropped, we had then binged the entire season 2. So we are all caught up. We have not watched the UK version, but I'm sure that's coming.
It probably is coming. Yeah. And it's really, really compelling. It's a lot of fun. It's like Lisa said, it's pretty cutthroat. There's a really interesting, diverse group of people on here. And if we're not that, even despite the fact that we say we watch Survivor and now this and Big Brother, there's a lot of the shows that these people are from that we don't watch. There's one thing called The Challenge where they've had multiple people from them, but
and there's also just like big iconic people. Like I was aware of, I'm probably going to butcher his last name, which I think most people probably wouldn't mind, because he doesn't, I don't think a lot of people like him, but Sam Asghari.
Oh yeah.
He dated or maybe was married to Britney Spears for a little while.
Oh.
I
forgot all about him.
Yes, fairly recently. Yeah. So he was on there, and then also what's the other guy that
Tom Sandoval?
Yes. Yeah. Who we knew because the girlfriend, they were just dating, right? They weren't married.
His girlfriend was on a season of I can't forget her name now, but she was on Dancing with the Stars, and she had recently come out of this relationship where she had been dating him, and he cheated on her with her best friend. And this all came out very public. The whole thing happened very publicly. Yeah. And so not only was it heartbreaking for her, but it was also, embarrassing.
But of course, before I realized who exactly he was, and before that, he's got a couple cool looks.
He's got style. The guy's got style.
Cool hats and everything. I was like, oh, I would so wear that outfit. And then I realized who he was, and I was like, oh, I hate him. Yeah. I don't want to like his outfits. But
he's so intense though. He's the way he'll be like this.
Oh yeah,
as people are talking and accusing him. And our friend Sarah Paris. Sarah, if you're watching this, hey, she had she mentioned him in a post that we did online, and she called him Tom Scumaval instead of Sandoval. I guess he's got a reputation where people just hate him. But yeah, you've got these interesting characters. Zach Efron or Efron's brother Dylan is on here. I don't know. He's known for something else, but interesting group of people.
Yeah.
And if you have Peacock, it's worth checking out. And like Lisa said, the competitions throughout this are great. And Alan Cumming is so funny. He's so charismatic.
His fashion. The other thing that I absolutely love. So after they murder at night, murder somebody. The next morning, everybody goes to breakfast, and the breakfast scene is how most of the shows will start out. You kind of see people kind of showing up for breakfast, and they don't all come in together. They come in groups of like 2 or 3 at a time, and then they all sit there and they eagerly await the door to open to see who the next couple people are. And there's hanging to
see who might be murdered.
And hanging on the opposite wall are picture frames of all of the cast members for that year. And so they're sitting there trying to figure out, I think it's so and so, I think it's so and so. And then obviously it's then revealed whether or not there was a murder, and if there was, who it was. And then Alan Cummings comes in. I died the first time he did it. Is he goes over to the wall and he picks the picture frame of the person who was murdered, and he says something very flippant about him, and he just throws the picture frame on the floor, and he's like, oh well.
And you'll see like kind of sad faces from some of these people, because some of them will be crying, some of the other ones who are still there because they're friends with these people.
If you heard that, we have
Alexa, stop. Alexa, we have a cat named Tomlin, and we keep some of his food refrigerated. So we set it out an hour before we feed him. So Alexa every day at 4:30 will come on and say, sit Tomlin's food out. Sit Tomlin's food out. So that was that. That's a reminder that our food delivery will be here soon too.
Yes.
We're getting Five Guys for dinner.
Exactly.
Go with the Super Bowl tonight.
Because I was trying to get a burger yesterday, but apparently someone thought that a chicken burger was a chicken breast in between 2 rolls. I'm sorry. Not a chicken burger, but anywho. Before we go on, I just want to say that out of the 3 seasons that we watched of it, I'm absolutely loving season 3. I have to say, the season I didn't care for the most was probably season 2. And I think it's just some of these shows you're going to have it, even with Survivor and all that. Maybe you just don't connect with a lot of the cast members.
Exactly.
And I hate to say it, but without giving anything away, I have found that it's really telling that I find myself rooting for the Traitors to win at the end. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know why I'm doing that. Although I will say I'm kind of, I'm really only rooting for one of the current Traitors right now. And then there's actually quite a few faithfuls that I'm and it's quite a few faithfuls that I'm almost wondering, because sometimes the Traitors will have the opportunity to bring someone into the fray with them, particularly if there are too many traitors that get banished.
For example, in one season, 2 of the 3 traitors had been banished, so they were down to 1. So an offer was made for someone. They're given the choice whether or not they want to join the traitors. But it's especially when you get further into a season, if someone can take them up on that and become a traitor, that can be kind of a good deal for them, especially if they've made all these other people think that they were, I was going to call them innocents.
Innocents.
No, they're not. None of these damn people are innocent. If people really believe that they were faithful all season. So if they can switch over to a traitor at the end.
Yeah. And some of them, admittedly, were sad that they didn't get to be a traitor. Because, I mean, it's kind of fun. It's like the one opportunity in life where it's okay sort of to be, I mean, now some of these people, I think, and this is why I would be a great traitor, because some of these people get very upset about murdering people. I'm like, you're not actually killing them. Like, don't you want to win and take the money away?
It's pretty funny with some of the stuff. Like, one of the things that they've done in one of the, they actually had 3 coffins, and you had to put 3 candidates who were going to be killed in these coffins. And the way that they determined which one actually was the one being killed, which meant they were eliminated from the show, was they actually nailed their coffin shut. And it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, people are crying because they couldn't believe they do that. I'm like, they're not dead, actually.
Yeah, they're not actually dead. So, shall we?
Anyway, so we're going to move on. So out of the other two, which
Oh,
ones do you want to
let's
talk about?
do
This one
this one.
first? Okay. So I'll
Excuse
let
me,
you
folks. Okay, this show is a Netflix made for Netflix series that I've been interested in for at least a couple of years, and it's called Virgin River,
Mhm.
and it's the story of this woman, Melinda. Well, she goes by Mel.
Mel. Mhm.
Who is a doctor in, is it LA or somewhere like that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
who things go really bad in
Mhm.
her life. It's not, I don't think it's given away too much to say that she had lost her husband.
Mhm.
He died in a horrible accident, and she just needs to start over. She comes to this small town. She's offered a job to be a nurse practitioner in the small town. She's played by Alexandra Breckenridge.
She's awesome.
She is awesome, and I was interested in the show because we actually liked the actress from her recurring role on This Is Us,
Yeah.
where she was Sophie, who was
Mhm.
Kevin's
Love
got
interest.
his childhood sweetheart.
Yeah.
Really, they
Mhm.
had been together when they were teenagers, and
And she was a
on and off
nurse
throughout the years. Oh yeah,
there.
she was a nurse on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I had heard about the show, and I knew she was in it. And then also the one who is her love interest in the show, well, maybe a love interest, is a character named Jack Sheridan. He's played by Martin Henderson, who we had just watched on Grey's Anatomy. Yes. He was on there for, I think, 3-4 seasons.
He should have been on there longer.
I really
liked him.
Yeah, I really liked him on there. I forget what his character's name was. We always do this.
I forget, but he was a potential love interest for Meredith.
Yeah.
After what's his face?
Yeah,
died.
He had been friends with Owen and
by the way, you see us rocking back and forth trying to remember names. This is why I have to print out the cast list.
Right.
And I'm looking down at it, which it's really small print. But because I forget the people's names, the cast names. We're like, that one.
But this small town of Virgin River, it's a fictional place, but it's somewhere up in the Pacific Northwest. Mm-hmm. We know they actually film it, I think, around Vancouver.
Yeah, Canada.
The scenery.
Everything
is
beautiful is shot outside of the U.S. Apparently, so that tells you a lot about our place. But
so it's been on our wish list for a while on Netflix, and just recently I read the autobiography of one of the actors that's in the show, and it's Tim Matheson, who's been in TV shows and movies since the 60s. Probably best known for Animal House. He was in Fletch. He's been in a couple other TV series, but he plays the doctor in this small town, Doc. And I was reading his autobiography, and towards the end of it, he covers his work on this show and how he just...
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's wonderful. And so, but from reading that, that's what kind of jump started me to say, hey, Lisa, let's try this.
Annette O'Toole is on there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, she some people really don't like her. I like her.
Yeah, I like her a lot. She's been around forever.
What really, none of you all know my mom, because she's like...
Some of you might, but it's unlikely.
Anti, social media with a lot of people. She's not on social media, but... I recently, you can add people onto your Netflix subscription.
Oh, yes.
So, my mom and my stepdad are retired, and I wanted to get them something, but it's like, what do you get people who can get whatever they want for themselves? And I thought, I'm going to add them to our Netflixing. And I thought, if she doesn't use it, she doesn't use it. Oh my goodness. I basically created a monster, and we told her about this show.
Yeah.
And unbeknownst to us, by the time we started it, I think we were on episode 4, I had texted her and said, really seriously, one of the shows we told you that we were curious about, we started, it's amazing. And she was like, oh, we're already in season 2 or something. And I was like, what?
So, yes, it's very bingeable. We had a feeling that we might like it because, like I said, we liked some of these cast members from other things. And it's just looked like a nice show. Something, it reminded me in some ways of the community that you would see in a show like Gilmore Girls.
Yes.
Like the small town. These people are really close. Mm-hmm. A lot of quirky characters. I've seen some people compare it even to Northern Exposure. Mm-hmm. Exposure. Sound like someone who'd be working on that soap opera with Moira. Exposure. But yeah, you get these characters. Some are
Yeah.
quirky, some are a little difficult, and they
Yeah.
clash sometimes.
But
But
this is another surprising show because at first you might look at it and you might even watch a trailer and think this is kind of like what I might refer to as a soap opera light.
yeah,
It's got a little bit of drama, but
yeah,
it's mainly about, it's almost like a literary kind of novel, and that it really is kind of more character driven and all
hmm
that. That's what you might think at
yeah.
first. But I have to say there's some menacing,
Oh yeah,
casts of people,
yeah.
groups of people that create quite a bit of conflict within the series. And I have to say, one of the reasons why it was bingeable is every single episode left you on
Oh, there were
a
cliffhangers right
huge
from the beginning.
cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So it really, like, I was like, well, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was the end of the very first episode. You're like, okay, this show is going to be a problem,
Yeah.
because you automatically want to keep watching
Yeah, and
it.
of course, everyone who streams, has the beloved little circle that it's like
Up
the next
next,
episode
yeah,
is starting in 5 seconds. And it's
yeah.
like, well, I mean,
And we generally we go to the gym several times a week. We generally go in the morning, usually like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and we'll get binging a show like this. And we're like, okay, tomorrow we're just going to skip the gym. We'll just watch one more episode here, sleep an hour later, and so we had a few weeks there we didn't go to the gym a whole lot because we were binging the show. So, but yeah, such a wonderful cast. I didn't know a lot of these actors and actresses other than the ones we mentioned. A lot of them I found out later are Canadian actors and actresses who also appeared in a lot of, looking at their credentials on IMDb, in a lot of Christmas movies. A lot of Christmas movies are filmed up in that same area.
And one of my favorite characters that I didn't think I was gonna like was Brady, who is played by Ben Hollingsworth. And I have to say, he really, by the end, we're obviously all caught up with that, and it has been renewed for another season.
I think they just finished their 6th, right?
Yeah, 6. So it'll be season 7. So of course my mom, was like, it's been renewed, and I'm like, I know.
And each season's what, around a dozen 10 to 12 episodes?
10 to 12
like
episodes. And it's just really great. And I also
but Brady, great character.
I also liked Zibby Allen. Great name, Zibby. It's a good
That's
character
the actress,
name.
not
That's
a character name.
Yeah, the actress Zibby Allen, who played Bree Sheridan, who is Jack Sheridan's sister.
Yeah, I think she came in season 2 or 3, I believe. Yeah,
and she's really great.
Yeah,
and
a lot of great ones.
Jack runs a bar that also apparently has amazing, groundbreaking food and recipes. Because one of his Navy. Yeah, he's in the. He was Marine.
Marines.
They were in the Marines. So John Middleton,
Preacher.
Preacher.
Preacher. Yeah.
I love Preacher.
Preacher's such a great character.
I really like Preacher. Yeah.
He's the cook there, but he's also Jack's best friend. And Jack is kind of like very reserved sometimes when not talking about his past. And Preacher's in a large portion the only one you can really get through to him. Of course, Mel has a relationship with Jack as well, so they're like the two closest people to Jack.
And the other surprising one that I really have grown to like is Muriel.
Oh yeah,
played by
Terrell Rothery.
She's fantastic actress and really just such a great character. Really, she's one of the ones. She's a little. You could see she's kind of like a desperate housewifey kind of actress, and you kind of make the mistake of kind of like with Alexis and Schitt's Creek of maybe thinking that some of these female actors might not have a lot of meat and substance to them, but boy, she really surprises you a lot in that series. And I really like her.
I like her a lot too. She's part of this group of women. I think there's 4 or 5 of them who are either like late middle aged into like, getting close to being a senior citizen, where they're very close knit, even though some of them clash. Like Muriel clashes a lot with Hope.
Yes.
The one played by Annette O'Toole. But there's this bond between them, and you'll see them. They're sewing and they're always together playing games and just
Doc.
Yeah.
Doc.
That was the character Hope. Yes, very good.
You'll understand. She's
she could be. I don't know. She's really something.
I don't know why you're being that way.
She could be very grating on you, but she's still a wonderful character.
I still love her.
Yeah, Annette O'Toole is great as her. I like this young character too, Lizzie. We weren't sure what to think of her
Yes.
towards the beginning. She wasn't
Yes.
there in the first season. Came in second or third season. This young, I think she was like maybe just out of high school
Yes.
when she
Yeah.
came into it. This girl from like LA, pretty
Mhm.
young blonde.
Mhm.
She's only there because she has rich parents, but they kind of didn't want to deal with her, so they
Mhm.
kind of
And you kind
shipped
of,
her off to her aunt, who's
yeah.
a
And
character
at
in this
first
town.
you kind of are very aware of why her parents might have wanted to ship her off.
Yeah,
But again, the show kind of teaches you, don't write people off,
yeah,
even if they rub you the wrong way at
yeah,
first. There sometimes
exactly.
there's a reason why they're like that, and
Yeah,
it's not that's the
yeah.
byproduct of how they were treated
And you can't really
beforehand.
judge them by how they look or even
Yeah,
like the people you might see them
yeah,
around. But
she's another Alexis
yeah,
growth
exactly.
character. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's the same with like the character you mentioned earlier, Brady.
yeah,
Right from the get go,
yes,
we thought, okay, yeah, this guy's a dick.
yeah,
I'm going to hate this
yeah.
guy. And while there's certainly reasons to have some
Yes.
negative opinions
Yes.
of him at times, um,
And
it's like real people.
he gets a lot of shit thrown at
he
him,
gets a
a
lot of
lot,
shit
but
thrown at him. Yeah,
he keeps keeping on and
yeah.
trying, and
And it's such a great cast. So many good actors and
but
actresses. And
it
oh,
doesn't list her name, but the
oh,
character's name. I mean, the actress's name was Lauren Hammersley.
Hammersley.
What was her name on there?
Was she the one that Jack was
Yes,
involved with?
yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Uh,
gosh, I can't
the
remember.
cast list is
Yeah,
failing me at this point. But anyways, Google it.
yeah,
Lauren Hammersley plays kind of a prominent role that then kind of fizzles out as the series goes on a
yeah,
little bit. But she's a really entertaining
yeah.
character
Because
too.
she's the one when the series starts. Well, obviously, that we mentioned there's an attraction, a great love interest between the two main characters, Jack
Jack.
and Mel.
Mhm.
But at the time, Jack is dating
It's a little bit of a
on and
love
off this
triangle going
this
on
one
there.
character. She is much more invested in the relationship than he is. But if he brings up several times that
It's
he's
casual,
it's casual.
which we all know what that really
You
means.
can only do casual for so long
Yeah,
if you can
before
do it
a
at
girl
all.
starts thinking, well, they don't really mean it, that it's
Right, right.
casual.
And a lot
So you
transpires
can see
there.
where that potentially goes from.
Yeah.
But she's a really interesting character, and she's another one like Brady, where you kind of think, I'm not gonna like them, but
Yeah.
she's
I'm not
really
being rude. I was
really
just going to
great.
try to look up her character name, but that's okay. You figure it out if you
Yeah.
watch it. And if you've watched it,
Um,
you obviously know who
but
she is.
anyways, that's
Yeah.
it's really just such a great
It
show,
really is.
and
Highly recommend it.
I'm very much looking forward to season 7
Yes,
of it.
me
So.
too. And that won't be for probably another year. But and then there's one that we just discovered. Well, actually, we've known of this for I guess a couple years since it premiered. Because as soon as it came out on Apple TV, people were raving about it. Several of our friends, and that is Severance.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Adam Scott, who was in The Office.
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
no,
What was he
Parks
in?
and Rec.
Oh,
Yeah, which is very simple. A lot of the same people I think
yes.
are involved in that, and so many other things. He plays a jerk sometimes in movies, and
yeah. But Severance is basically about this company Lumen,
yeah,
who comes up with this procedure where you can be severed, and it basically severs your memories and your, like, I don't know, psyche basically into two different people, and it has a geographical trigger on it.
yes,
So when people go to work, for instance, at Lumen, they get in the elevator, and in the process of going up in the elevator, they're outie and innie is what they're called. They're
yeah.
outie, who is just their private self.
Yeah, the one who entered the
Yeah.
Audi enters the
The
building
Audi enters the building to
yeah.
go to work, but in the process of riding the elevator up to the severed floor, which is on the 7th floor,
Yeah.
their innie is activated and the Audi is turned off, and so the two don't have any connecting things. So the innie
no
that's
memory
going
at all of their other lives.
Yeah, the innie that's going to work has no idea if they're married, if they have children at home. And at first, when you think about it, it's like, oh, well, that's a brilliant tool for employers to use because there's no distraction. So if you have drama going on in your home or whatever, it's not going to inhibit you when you come into the office. And then likewise, when you go home and when you ride the elevator back down, your outie is activated and the innie is turned out. So you have no idea what you do at work. Like you could be an assassin during the day and you wouldn't know that you
don't
killed
know.
people.
You have no idea what you're doing.
And sometimes these people will have remnants of their life on them. Like there's one character in there, Irv, John,
Irvin,
played by John Turturro,
wonderful actor,
who he arrives at work and his innie looks down and notices he has something black underneath his fingernails, and I'm not giving any big secret away, but
he
his
has no idea how it got
his
there.
outie paints,
Yeah,
and so he had black paint underneath his fingernails, but he had no idea, what that is, and so you can imagine what that does. But then also you see the potential problems of if you don't know you're married and you don't know you have the things, and all of a sudden you have maybe feeling like an emotional connection with one of your coworkers, now Lumen discourages fraternization, within the workplace, but still things happen.
You don't know what your outside life is like. And these people are ruthless at this company. I mean, they have them, this group that Adam Scott's character is Mark. He is the manager of this small group of, 4 or 5 people. And, basically their job is they're given like these series of numbers on each of their computers every day, and they're supposed to group them according to how they feel about the numbers. And you don't know what any of this means, but there are suspicions that what they're doing for Lumen is nefarious, but they just don't know it. They don't know what Lumen is doing. And it's really something, because you'll see like Mark at his job, then he goes home, and again, no idea what he does during the day, but Mark's this company's got a bad reputation. A lot of people are against the whole Sever process. It's not a secret. I mean, the people in the area know about it. The world knows about it. Yeah, they say it's inhumane. And you find that someone like Mark maybe got into it because of circumstances in their own lives that they wanted to.
And I think it sounded too big of a reveal, because they reveal it pretty early on. His wife apparently died. And so that's what drove him to being severed, is he was so emotionally distraught over that you can imagine that that's going to have a rippling effect in your life.
Yeah,
and
like
so
he had lost his job as a professor, I believe, a teacher, because he was so distraught.
Yeah, so he thought the severed process would give him some emotional kind of distance, and that somehow that would trick his body into grieving, which anybody who knows anything about grief can already see the writing on the wall that is not going to be the case. But what is so intriguing to me about this show is I don't know exactly when this is supposed to be taking place.
Yeah.
What's fascinating is the high-tech computers that they're using at work look wildly old. They look like analog MS-DOS gaming kind of old. Okay?
Yeah, they remind me of my very first computers from like the 90s.
And then the cars are all like from I would say like late 90s or so.
Yeah.
But yet they have smartphones.
Yeah.
Because clearly people have them and are doing that. So it's really because you hear the dings and stuff like that in it, but it's never really told exactly when it's happening. It's all very mysterious.
And
I have to say, Patricia
Arquette
plays she plays 2 characters. Her outie has a different name. It's Mrs. I forget what it is, but her innie is actually a pretty high up person at Lumen.
Yeah, who's
Cobell is how they
Harmony, Mrs. Cobell.
Mrs. Cobell.
Yeah,
and she is. Well, first of all, I have to say she has beautiful skin.
She does,
which has nothing to do with her character or the show, but she is frightening. Like she could be great in a horror movie. Like, she really is just has this look about her that's really interesting.
She's wonderful, and it had been years since I'd really seen her in anything. I know she's continuously acted over the past several decades, but I knew her best probably first from a movie. Did you ever see True Romance?
No.
Oh, honey, we need to watch True Romance.
Okay.
Quentin Tarantino wrote it.
Oh, okay.
It's so good. It's she's one of the leads in that. But then she was the lead actress on the TV show Medium for many years. But she is awesome on this show.
The other favorite I have
Oh,
is the actor's name is Trammell Tillman,
yeah.
and he plays Milchick, which some of the people call him Milkshake.
Oh, he's wonderful.
On
Yeah.
there, and he's another one who's
Yeah.
a
He,
little
he
creepy.
works for Lumen, and
He's nailed the creepy thing.
yeah.
Now, what's interesting about the show is not, and I'm not going to tell you who is and who isn't, but there are some people there who aren't severed, even on the severed floor.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mysterious things going on there, and things slowly start to trickle in and become aware to some of these,
Yeah.
characters. And so we're kind of at a point in the series where the outie world is starting to infiltrate the innie world and
Yeah.
vice versa. They're not forged together, which makes it a very interesting, and I have to applaud the writers
Yeah.
for the show, because that's a complex thing to be intertwining
Yeah.
together. But there's really, like, I wasn't actually sure what I thought of the show for the first couple episodes, because there was so much that I didn't have. Like, I felt like
Yeah.
I was really missing something. Like, I actually said to him at one point,
Yeah.
did we skip? Did
Yeah.
we by accident start season 2 and this isn't season 1? But probably by about half. So I'd say if you give this show a shot and you're having a hard time connecting with it at first, I would say by the time we got halfway through season 1, I was committed.
Yes.
And by the time we got to the end, I was all in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they're only just now in season 2. Apparently,
Yeah.
I think there was a multiple year break in between the first and second seasons, probably in part because they had a couple of those strikes going on in Hollywood and things like that. But yeah, Lisa's right there. While I liked it from the beginning, we had a conversation where we were concerned because there will sometimes be series like this where it seems like the whole purpose of it is to be mind fucks to the audience.
Yeah.
Like, how weird and bizarre can we make it?
Yeah.
And kind of like tease these people. How many
Yeah.
seasons can we milk it? And while I don't think we're anywhere near close to understanding what is going on here, it's just so brilliant. And you do have some resolutions as you go along and some twists that have kept us coming back. I mean, we were up till, I don't know, like 2-3 a.m. last night, finishing the first season.
And I think
then
we only have a couple episodes left of
then
this
we're
current
caught
season.
up.
We're
Yeah.
caught up. They're still releasing the episodes,
Yeah.
but
I think it's another one where the seasons are shorter. It's on
Mhm.
Apple TV, so I think most of them are around 10
Yeah.
episodes or
Yeah.
so. So yeah, such a wonderful cast. One of the leads on there, I was totally unfamiliar with this actress, but her name is Britt Lauer, and she plays Helly. And without giving away too much, when the series starts, Helly is a new character there working with this group in Lumen.
Yes.
And without, again, giving away too much, she is having a hard time adjusting to being there. This whole thing about, what do you mean I have no life outside of here?
And that is really, like, there's
some intense stuff with Helly. And
Christopher Walken is in the
oh,
show.
yeah,
which
yeah.
is
Christopher
amazing.
Walken's great.
And,
yeah.
Now our food is going to be delivered momentarily.
That's a good sign to be wrapping things up here.
So
and we got to get ready for the game. We're
Yeah.
recording this right now on February 9th. Is it 9th? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, it's Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes, Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, Super Bowl 59, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Against the Kansas City Chiefs.
I don't usually root for the Eagles. I'm from Virginia, so Washington, D.C., and the Commanders did really well this year.
Almost made it.
And I am, based on our cat's name, Tomlin, I am a Steelers fan. So I'm kind of a Steelers Commanders girl,
Yeah.
but I really don't like the Chiefs. So I'm there for seeing, I would love to see someone else win.
Yeah. And I'm a lifelong Delawarean, so I've always lived within like 30, 45 minutes of Philadelphia. So I was pretty much a lifelong Eagles fan up until about 5 years ago when the Cincinnati Bengals won me over. So I've been a Bengals fan, but I'm still an Eagles fan too. So I'm rooting for the Eagles. It's probably all moot by the time the majority of you see this, and the game will have long since been over with. Yes. But anyway, thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Gotta Pop podcast. Like I said, we also will be doing an episode of the Gotta Read show first. And if you... we're both on Substack if you want to follow us.
Yes.
And we both got our own website. So we're around.
Yes.
And Blue Sky. We love Blue Sky. Yes. That's our new thing.
I am nowhere other than I left all the other social media platforms. So I'm only on Blue Sky, my website, and Severance. Severance? Oh my God. I am not on the severed floor.
You want to forget me for so many hours a day, huh?
No, that's what he wants to do, and I can't blame him. Substack. It kind of has a severed feel to it. Severed sound.
I'm digging Substack. So
yeah.
Anyway,
anyways,
folks.
We're going to go eat.
Yes, we're going to go eat. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Yay.
Cheers.
Bye.
And other good shows from the 80s and 90s.